Step into a world where there's no one there. No empty content. Step into a world where hip-hop is step into a world where hip-hop is
Peace and power to all you beautiful Black people. Happy to be here this evening. There's so much going on in the world today, naturally, technology, and evilishly. But we're here standing, taking it all in, and moving on. Being proud Black people, being proud African people. My name is Mamindanu Kudu, and I'm here to stand in for our most illustrious brother Curtis. I don't know if he's on his way, but we're on our way. We're getting it going. And brother is playing some drum beats for us to soothe us down and to summon our ancestors in so that we can have a beautiful libation, because we give thanks and praises to the Creator, the Most High, Spirit within us, Mother, Father, ancient African ancestral spirit that guides us and protects us and holds us, keeps us moving, keeps us stable, keeps us joined together, and lets us keep fighting for our freedom, for our liberation. So if we can all just be quiet for a moment and feel the drums, feel the drum beat in our heartbeat. I am one of the most elderly of the elders in the house, so I'm just going to give us permission to begin today, okay? And I would ask Brother Cannell if you want to come up and give us a formal libations, because I feel that the ancestors have come in, taken their place with us. So if you want to,
Jumbo, everyone. Jumbo, everyone. I'm fine. We're fine. Like John Coltrane, I would like to give a picture of the listener of the many wonderful things I know of and sense in the universe. First of all, for those who don't know what libation is, not that many people do. First of all, libation is a ritual, and the purpose of ritual is to create harmony between the human world and the world of the Creator, the ancestors, and nature. As our ancestor Maya Angelou has said often, the greatest gifts are the blessings of the past. Let us thank those who came before us. Now, when you hear me say Ashe, which is a Yoruba word meaning it is done or so be it, you simply respond with Ashe. We pour now to the ancient Egyptians, or more correctly, the Kemetiu, who were culturally, linguistically, and phenotypically African, and were proud of their African origin and stated so in their writings. From the highly respected papyrus of Hunefer, found in the Egyptian book of the Coming Forth by Day, it states, "Our home is at the source of the Nile River, where the god Happy dwells, at the foothill of the mountain of the moon. Our land is the Tanuta, or God's land. The area between Kenya and Tanzania is also known for the world's oldest fossil finds, early man, and the birthplace of Homo sapiens sapiens. We ask these ancestors to be with us, to bless us, renew us for struggles ahead. Ashe. We now pour to my mentor, the illustrious, inimitable Professor Dr. John Henry Clark, who said often in classes which were always packed, Africa has always and still have always been the world's richest people, culturally rich, mineral rich. We have always been the prize because we've always had and still have something that other people want, think they can't do without, and do not want to pay for. We ask this ancestor to be with us, to bless us, and renew us for struggles ahead. Ashe. John Henry Clark. We now pour to the great journalist and activist from Trinidad and Tobago, Claudia Jones, who chimed, "The lady with the lamp. The Statue of Liberty stands in New York Harbor. Her back is squarely turned on the United States of America. It's no wonder, considering what she would have to look upon, she would weep. She would weep if she had to face this way, all this chaos, calamity." We ask this ancestor to be with us, to bless us, to renew us for struggles ahead. Ashe. We now pour to an ancestor who was a philosopher and psychiatrist. He wrote about the relationship between colonizers and colonized. His name was Frantz Fanon, who stated 2 centuries ago, a former European colony decided to catch up with Europe. It succeeded so well that the United States of America became a monster. Became a monster in which the undesirable qualities, the sickness, and the inhumanity of Europe have grown to appalling dimensions. We ask this ancestor who wrote The Wretched of the Earth, Black Skin, White Mask, to be with us, to bless us, and renew us for struggles ahead. Ashe. I just would like to conclude with what W.E.B. Du Bois said about democracy. He said, "The great problem with democracy in the United States is that it has yet to be tried." Yet to be tried. I call it a criminal enterprise. Thank you all. Thank you all. Ashe, ashe, ashe.
If we could call out the names of the ancestors from our own families whose presence we would like to be with us, to continue to whisper in our ears words of wisdom. Let us call their names now. Love and appreciate your child. Okay? Okay? Okay. And Brother Curtis is here. Come on, Brother Curtis. Got his fan and all.
How y'all doing this morning? Come on, y'all could do better than that. Hey, Mr. Fur, Brian, can you hear me? You're being Summers. I need a drum. Give it up for Mom and Donald, y'all. Give it up for Mom and Donald and Brother Rose for coming and offering a beautiful libation. Y'all gotta excuse me. I've been communing with my ancestors, and we're going to invite them in, because I know libation is just one way, right? But they say song is another way. How many people want to sing a song with me? None of y'all? Okay, well, next time, oh, okay, cool. Ron, if you could just follow the beat, right? No, you need a mic. No, I'm actually, yeah, I'm singing the song. I just need you to do the chorus for me. Now, we understand that our ancestors are called by many names. Is that right? So in the Yoruba, we call them Igungun, right? These are the benevolent ancestors, right? And when we say benevolent ancestors, these ain't Poopy and Ray Ray, all right? These are the ones that have sacrificed much for us. And when we invite them in, when we venerate them, that's us offering them to come and be with us. So this song is a welcoming song, and it is saying, welcome ancestors, come and be a part of it. And it goes, and you won't have to follow the beat, Brian, because I don't know what the beat sounds like, because I've only heard it once, right? So, if ain't we something? Ain't we something? Yes, we are. So it goes, Wale. Let me get it right. Wale, why, ogungun, wale, why. Wale, why, ogungun, wale, why. Wale, why, ogungun, wale, why. Whoa, wale, why. Let's do it. Wale, why, ogungun, wale, why. Wale, why, ogungun, wale, why. Wale, why, ogungun, wale, why. Whoa, wale, why. How'd I feel? All right. Come on. Come on.
Wale, why, ogungun, wale, why. Wale, why, ogungun, wale, why.
Wale, why, ogungun, wale, why. Whoa,
wale, why.
come on.
Wale, why, ogungun, wale, why. Wale, why, ogungun, wale, why. Wale, why, ogungun, wale, why.
Whoa.
Wale, why.
One more time.
Why, ogungun, wale, why. wale wa, gungun wale wa, wale wa, gungun wale wa, oh wale wa, wale wa, gungun wale wa, wale wa, gungun wale wa, wale wa, gungun wale wa.
Oh, wale, why? Thank you. Ashe. Come on, give it up. Yes, sir, Baba. That means welcome to the Ogungun, to the ancestors, right? Now, I would like to incorporate it probably with the libation. Can you feel that? Because as we're pouring libation, it just brings and invigorates them. It makes them a part of our process. It quickens us. It makes us one with our ancestors. Ashe. It is Yoruba. And we know Yoruba is a part of what country? Nigeria. Yeah. So we're taking a whole tour of Africa. And when we bring the songs and we uplift them. And why Nigeria? Because many of those that came over through the Great Mayafa. And when we say the Great Mayafa, we mean the great tragedy. Not that it was great. The Mayafa is the middle patches when they robbed us of so much. And one of the things they robbed us from the ability to play the drum. And why is the drum important? Because the drum is that communicative instrument, right? And we wonder why we don't get along. Because when you see people sitting here, this is Mandinka, right? Huh? She is Fanny. This brother is Hausa. This brother is Tweed. So when we come together collectively and we bring these mother songs back and we bring our mother tongue back, it is to quicken us and unite us. That doesn't matter where you are. We're all in the same boat today. So when we bring these songs back, we speak in our mother tongue. We bring them back so they can commune with us. And we sing the song, we become keepers of those traditions. And we say, may that circle never be unbroken again. So when we talk about that great Mayafa, it was warriors on that boat. See, we talk about those people that died, but we don't understand that many of them lived for us to be here today. It was some people that kept it. It was some sisters. Can I touch you? It was some sisters that braided. Oh, I'm sorry. It was some sisters that braided seeds from the continent that when they came on this soil, they would take the seeds out of the braids of their hair and their locks, and they would plant a little seed, and they would water that seed. Well, in this house of healing called TNAT, we're here to water the seed. In the church, they say the seed the size of a grain of a mustard seed. Whatever your faith is, if it's this small, if it's this big, those people that becomes keepers of our ancestors in this house of healing, no matter how big your faith, we understand that tomorrow is always brighter than today. And our big brother over there, our chief elder, he's at the pinnacle of the seat as the keeper of the traditions. I stand on his right hand as the assistant keeper of traditions. And we become the griot and the mouthpiece of our ancestors. Oh, Brian, it feels so good when you become the keepers of the faith and the traditions. And you can sit at my little big brother's feet and he can give you the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding that no matter what's going on in your life, you know, you can just keep on keeping on. And that's what Sunday afternoon is all about. Coming and getting a bit of inspiration, a little bit of pep in your step. Just when you're dealing with everything in the world and you just want to give up, we can come here to the temple and we can commune with one another. Like Brother Chris. What's up, Brother Chris? I'm trying to see. Oh, brother. Man, when I see the smiling faces in the room, it rejuvenates me. Because I know you guys can be anywhere, but y'all decided to spend time with the TNAT family. And we should rejoice. when we come into the temple, because we could be anywhere, but we chose to be with family. We chose to be with family. And we see the young Watutu over there. I mean the youth, the children, right? The Watoto over there, they learning. And one day they will be standing up here because they remember what Brother Dennis and Brother Curtis and their dad had passed on to them. They'll remember the songs that we sung. Maybe they'll remember a word, a principle, a concept that maybe will allow them to stand a little straighter, because we understand that history heals, and sometimes it becomes the wings that allow us to stand up a little straighter and fly a little higher. Yeah. I've been eating cola nuts all weekend, so I'm a little hyped. All I'm saying is I've been eating cola nuts. They got caffeine in them. I said these little nuts ain't got no caffeine in them, but I guess they had a little bit of caffeine in them because I had a little pep in my step when I came up in here and I seen your smiling face. Eating a little bit too many cola nuts. Ashe. Sometimes they say even the little thing, you have too much of a good thing. Is that right? I got the spirit. I got the African Holy Ghost. Is that right? Huh? The spirit. No, sir. You can't have none. You can't handle the cola nuts. You can't handle the cola nuts, beloved. Well, I'm going to bring my big brother on because he's over there. He's looking sharp. I'm dressed down. He's dressed up. I'm dressed down. He dressed up. But no matter how we dress, we say, come as you are. Is that right? Come on. Brother Los, give me some beat. Let's go!
This is a journey.
Ain't got no time. Come on.
This is a journey.
Peace and power, family.
Dr. Dennis
Ausar
Winkler.
This is a journey.
All right, he making up for being late, y'all. Give him a round of applause. Give Mama Danu, Baba Rose, Baba Fur, Baba Carlos, Baba Kelly. Hold up, Baba Ausar. Blessings to my father and everybody who's here. Greetings. I don't know about all that energy. I'm just getting over like a sinus infection. I'm still working through it. You know, Brother Curtis come in. He made up. You know what I like to say? May I ask permission from my elders to speak? All right. So today it's going to be a little laid back, a little bit casual. And what we will do is have a discussion. And I like if we could somehow reflect on things that we discussed in the previous weeks and interconnect them or tie them in the conversation. Or, just bring you. I don't have a script today. I have one, but I think it's over there. And naturally, I like the spirit to flow. But I'll tell you one thing. Everybody has their role. Is that right? Y'all setting yourself up. Everybody has their role. Is that right? Brother Curtis came in after Mom and Danu, and Mom and Danu was ready to pass that torch on. I could see. Did he not do his job?
I think he did his job.
Now I'm saying that because I have a job too, and I'm going to say, family, let's get here on time. You understand? That's the setup. Mom and Danu ain't she like all the fun, but she ain't like she's don't know about that one. But yeah, I appreciate everybody. Yo, how that feel? How does that land? Get here on time. CB time? Because you know one thing I realized about black people is that we talk about getting out of here in 45 minutes, but we never talk about getting there before the 45 minutes can start. What do you say to Sister Shamet? You understand that? But African time is a time that does the cutoff. You can't cut off before you start. Is that right? All right, so let's try to be on African time. I don't think Harriet Tubman could say she was on African time in the way that we're using it. I think she had to look at the stars in alignment to say, look, let me look at that North Star so I can get to where I have to get to. I think she had to be very timely. Is that not right? All right, so let's stop using that excuse. All right, how's everybody? All right, so how y'all feeling? Amazing. All right. So today, what's the topic today? The topic. I just want to start off with collective growth and responsibility, exploring truth, accountability, and liberation. One of those words I'm trying to do, I already tried to start with. What's that called? Accountability. Yeah, I mean, interestingly enough, the people that I know that talk about accountability, they be the ones who struggle the most. They want to hold everybody accountable besides themselves. How many of y'all got accountability partners like that? Are you the one who giving the accountability, or the one who? Which one of you? Let me pass several mics around.
I demand accountability, sir.
Demand accountability.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Where's the other mics? I just want to make sure we have the flow. Because it's not about me. So, what does that mean to you all? What those words mean to you? So I'm gonna read it again. If my phone don't do something really weird here. So collective growth and responsibility, exploring truth, accountability, and liberation. Brother Curtis is going to serve as a co-moderator with me today because my energy is not totally here. And look, interestingly enough, he has a lot of it, extra amount today. So don't, Mama.
Well, I think accountability is very, very important. Without it, devastation.
Mm-hmm.
If we're on the front line, if we're on the back line, if we're supposed to be doing a job, especially if we have volunteered to do it,
Mm-hmm.
then we have to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And because everybody else is counting on us, expecting us to do it, if we don't do what we're supposed to, then they may not know what they're supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I think accountability is extremely important in any kind of struggle, in any kind of organization, even in the home.
Thank you, Mama.
You can first see accountability in the ancient Kemetic scales of justice, where you had to go to the other side of the afterlife. Your heart must not outweigh a feather. In other words, you had to be accountable to the universe, the laws of the universe, had to be accountable to your family and to yourself. That's what the whole scene was about, in the weighing of the heart.
Thank you.
So I'm in a operations and finance business background, and I think about accountability in terms of taking an account, like just being able to itemize what the expectations are, and then being able to check the box to say that expectation is met. And having an accountability partner, in my mind, is someone who understands the shared values of that account list and hold you to a standard of that account list. And that could be very practical, it could be financial, it could be operational. But as long as there's an understanding of what the expectations are and that someone is checking to say that it was met.
Thank you.
I agree with Brian. I think what is equally as important is that you have a meeting of the mind. So we have an agreement, right? So it's just not that someone said that, hey, I'm going to help you, right? But it's a mutual agreement. And you understand from the beginning what the expectation is that you're trying to achieve. And I think sometimes, and when I think about even relationships, you get in a relationship and you just expect, because of the nature of the relationship, that your wife, your mate, your husband, your significant other is supposed to carry out certain responsibilities. But unless you have a meeting of the mind, unless it's expressed, I think then you have the ability to hold people accountable.
Let me hear you there. Let me hear this. The proverb. Actually, I'm going to be using both Native American and African proverbs. I think some of us got a little engine in our family. Ain't that the thing? I mean, I know I do really, not just made up. The DNA test even supports it. It's a very small percentage. Buffalo, see, that's a very debatable yeah. I don't know about Buffalo Soldier Bob. So the proverb says, you must speak straight so that your words may go as sunlight into our hearts. This is an Apache. You must speak straight so that your words may go as sunlight into our hearts. What is that? How does that land?
Sunlight is obedient. It continues to shine. So you have to continue who you are, you know.
Thank you, Bob.
You must speak straight, as in say what the expectation is as it pertains to accountability. So the sunlight, in terms of you could be illuminated, like the visual, the ability to see, the ability to understand. If you don't say it, you don't understand. So speak straight so I can understand is what I'm pulling from that.
Okay, thank you for that. Anyone else?
So when I heard you say that, it reminded me of something I heard someone used to say all the time: straight talk, but straight understanding. You just you can't expect people to understand you if you're not being clear with the expectations. When we talk about accountability and the list and everything, we have to be clear with what the expectations are. I think you also need to make sure that the people understand what you're saying. So here are the expectations. Do you understand it? Bring it back to me so that we're all on the same. We all understand, have the same understanding, and then we can expect the same outcome.
Yeah. So like an active listening type of thing. And interestingly, that's what I would like for these circles. Like we do lecture style part of my language. Then you do, let's get around and do a circle and let's talk about these things. Because you never know how things are landing, right? And that's why I say in the weeks, like if we can even reflect on weeks of things that were said. Because we talked about a lot from Brother Kevin to we've been on this talk about healing, freeing yourself by forgiving your parents, which was this very strong, emotionally filled type of discussion. So yeah, I think that it's always important to have that reflection period, and like to hear back. How did that land on you? What didn't sit well? What sat well? What whatever, all those type of things.
I'll go first. One of the things that I really appreciate about the last couple of weeks is the ability to go backwards to go forward, right? The ability to create a space that's trauma informed, meaning that we understand that there are diverse childhood experiences that touched each and every one of us in different ways, right? But to be able to go back and begin to heal some of those wounds by first exposing them, talking about them, and then giving space collectively for us to deal with them, or at least be on the road to open up some of those wounds and begin to heal those wounds, because it's very hard to move out with a contingency of people that are not at least acknowledge that, hey, there's some wounds here, but I'm on the road to recovery. I'm on that journey to really heal some of those wounds that I'm personally affected by. And I think to have a house of healing and be that repository, it's important that we bring some of those things to the surface. So when we see them playing out in people's behaviors and ways and actions, we say, oh, and then we can begin to help alleviate some of that pain and take some of that pressure off. And I think that's what, for the last couple of weeks, we've been doing, kind of peeling and exposing some of the wounds that have yet to be healed, and some of them are in the process of being healed.
And I think even to add on to what you're saying, there's also been quite a few people who also, perhaps if they didn't even look at the wounds that they have, perhaps how they could have caused some. You know, or let me just check in what I heard. Let me check in with my children. Let me check in with my daughter, my son. Let me just check in, because unintentionally or inadvertently, I may have caused some of that. Yeah.
I think another part of accountability is to be brave enough, have the courage enough to open up your own heart and call somebody who's not being accountable to let them know, I see what you ain't doing. You said you was going to do this, but I see what you ain't doing. And that's just as important to accountability as to make that promise, but for somebody to let you know you ain't doing it. So,
yeah, I appreciate that. And I think in these days and times, if we fall into Western thought, that even becomes unpopular to call and hold people accountable, because we say, well, you know, it's all types of. I think we've weaponized therapeutic terms like space and what is it called? Even, I'll be honest with you, it's unpopular, but even rest to a degree, or like it's more of an individualistic thing. It's more about and there's a certain sensitivity that people have right now. There's a certain sensitivity, and it's sometimes what I'm going to say, some of the therapy that is provided, it really supports that level of stuckness. And what I call stuckness is that often we're not held accountable for our own sensitivities. How many people know what I'm talking about? How many people have sensitivities? How many people had sensitivities? How many people had sensitivities? And I'm not saying you don't still have had and have. I'm saying had and have sensitivity. Yeah, how many people have moved past some of those sensitivities, or realized and identified those sensitivities, that I do have these sensitivities, but I have to take accountability that I am made up a certain way, and that's why I feel certain things in a way that people may not even intend. Is that the right word? Intend to cause like harm, or go ahead, Brother Brian.
One of the things I really appreciate, the last two Sunday gatherings that we had, it made me reprocess certain memories, but from the standpoint of like more empathy and understanding. Like, my dad was 30 and just trying to figure it out. He didn't have it all together. He was, just doing what he had to do at the time or the moment, to the point. And not to say that was a huge breakthrough, but I definitely called my dad to say like, I didn't realize you were just 30 and trying to figure it out. And we laughed about it, you know what I mean? Because I can understand things from a different perspective, being a little older now. And it just kind of revisited that. I also really like that you pulled visuals from the fences. I hadn't even thought about that, the book or the play or the movie, in a long time. So it was refreshing, because I revisited that as a child. So I didn't even have the perspective to even like have kids or have the empathy or think about it from that point of view. I was on the other side of the fence metaphor.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm gonna say something real quick, then I'll pass it. Baba, Boo, did you go yet? You reserved? Okay. So one thing about the fences piece is, I think I shared it, but I didn't realize until after I started doing my work as becoming a therapist. In that process, I feel like whatever I went through to become a therapist, most of us should go through. And what I mean by that, it has made me way more. Just think about it. I've been doing business for a long time. So it takes a lot of keep going. If that's a word, right? Keep going. Y'all get what I'm saying? Y'all black, right? So tenacity to continue. And sometimes you have to cut certain things off to kind of keep moving, because the level of stress that comes with operating business, especially with us, just be honest with you, or operating in ministry with us, you have to have a lot of skill. And in fact, what's interesting, even part of this process, I speaking about communal patterns. And I understand sometimes it feels like people are taking shots at you because of sometimes it sits in your lap. But the reality is, what people don't often realize is when you're in a certain position or seat or place, how many people are actually going through something that is very similar, even if it's not the same what you are speaking to. So when you speak about communal patterns, when you're talking about not showing up, sometimes people think Brother Curtis could be like thinking I'm talking about him. Not what happened, brother. Not brother, but you just saying something. You're saying we need to show up on time. And Brother Curtis be like, well, brother, I mean, it's just the first time, brother. But it's not, I'm not speaking about Brother Curtis. In fact, I did that today. And I'm not specifically speaking about him, but I do know that, and one thing I could tell him directly. And that is one of the things also in my training, we had to go through high levels of criticism in a therapeutic way or not, to hear feedback and get feedback and have your colleagues say, oh, you could have did that better. And then you have to say what you could have did better. And then all that type of thing. But what I was going to say is I got lost. But Mama Fluka, I got lost. Pardon these allergies are really, I was really, if I felt like I felt yesterday, I wouldn't be here. But today I feel a lot better.
One of the things I'm hearing, and if I just was from a business standpoint, there's this thing called cultural norms and expectations. And it sounds almost exactly like what it sounds like. It is exactly what it sounds like, but like, so an example of it is like at the end of each business day, you might do a practice called like a grow and glow, where you say one thing that's positive and say one thing that's negative. And what it does is it builds the fortitude to be able to like take negative feedback, as well as the fortitude to be able to give negative feedback, because it's kind of the expectation. And then when you do the glow, you also learn how to take positive feedback, because that's even a hard thing for a lot of people. And then it creates like more of a communication channel, like in group settings. And it kind of sounds like, well, when you're saying being able to give the feedback and take the feedback, like being able to have that grace to be able to offer and give as well as receive.
Yeah, thank you. Brought it back for me, brother Fur. The thing I was talking about that, but I also was talking about the level of empathy. So I'm in the movie Fences. Probably my wife and I went to see it. I think it was you, right? It wasn't nobody else. That's our joke. She'd be like, "Oh, that wasn't me. That was your girlfriend." So, but I went to watch Fences. I can't remember what that was. Probably I'm imagining somewhere 2015 or something like that. All I know is I was crying, and I know that I was in the movie looking at this situation much different than many people, because my empathy was going towards, what's his name, Denzel's character, Troy. My empathy was so much in Denzel's character. And I'm sitting there like, I know a lot of these people like, that guy's a jerk. But I'm sitting here like, oh my God, the trauma that he has endured to create this individual who wants to protect his child. I talked to a few people in the room over the weeks, and they were like, one sister said, I never even wanted to look at the movie again because I couldn't stand Troy. And there's a different perspective, as Brother Fur was also alluding to, that we could see Troy in a different light. And the reality is, Troy is everywhere. And as Brother Fur said, that many of us are analogies. But I'm okay. So Troy to me is in all of us in different ways, and we mean to do well, and that's the greatest thing I learned through my experience. We mean to do well, but we still hurt people. I'm saying even when we're trying to do our best. And so I think that should be understood on both sides. And even especially those who call themselves children, because we're all children. Some of us were getting caught in the lens of being a parent because we're parents, but you're also a child. You have a mother, a father who was there, wasn't there, was there some kind of way in your own way. Y'all ready for the mic? All right, just tell me shut up. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, Brother Reggie.
Speaking about the movie, so much of what is said here in this community resonates with me. I come here for the very purpose of finding like-minded people, finding community. During the course of the week, when I be out there, sometimes when you represent something, you can have to take your licks, so to speak. And I come here oftentimes just to find kindred spirits and find the community that I can get refueled back up because the week is coming again, and I gotta continue to stay the course. Speaking about fences, I wanted to say something that I have not heard made mention. The mother card. I kind of saw my mother. Oh man, the scene, and I'm sure we all. I hope we all remember the scene that Viola Davis had in that movie where she was crying and she said, "Troy, you think you're the only one here?" And man, that made me think my mother. Because my the family dynamic, where I grew up at, I saw my mom, man, holding on to my dad, and I saw my dad trying, and I know today I could see it as a youngster, but today I understand that didn't a lot go right, because my dad didn't take the traditional route. His friends worked at the point in those places, there were good jobs during that time, and he decided to be an entrepreneur, and it didn't work for him, man. And my mom had bet it all on.
Yeah.
She bet the rank, and it didn't quite work out. So I saw in Viola Davis's pain, her commitment, her just trying to stay the course, and me in the little fella, because I didn't understand my dad. My father, for instance, I'll close with this. For a long time, I didn't know my dad knew my name because I was referred to as that boy. Where's that boy? Tell that boy come here. What's wrong with that boy? Come here, boy. You're sitting around here. I would read, man. I was a reader, man. My dad would walk past the room, see me read, going out here and tell my mother, the hell wrong with that boy? You need to read books. Some books ain't gonna help. You need to come on and go with me. Let me show him how to make some money. And my dad was not the kind of fellow who you could confront, so I kind of had to suck that up. And of course, Mom would always assure me, "Oh, your father loves you." So the mother in fences has not been acknowledged, and I think that it's important that we get.
Reggie, thank you for that. How did that make you feel when your dad didn't know your name and you was just born? Can you go into that a little bit? Because this is a safe space for you guys. He was the only child.
No, I was the only male. So when you referred to that boy, you had to be talking about me, And of course, I literally would ask my mom sometimes, does Dad even know my name? And my mother's, I'm telling you, over the years, my mother's response always You know what she would say? Oh, your father loves you. That was it. You know. But you know how it made me feel. It was I wasn't that son. Now I had a couple of other brothers, right? And what it really at some point made me feel was that uh, when I realized that I didn't aspire to uh, follow my dad's footsteps. My father was an auto mechanic. He was an auto mechanic, and he had his own. He was, you know, an entrepreneur. But the thing is, like, unlike today auto mechanics wear gloves. But back in the 70s, you knew who the auto mechanics in the community were because their hands were dirty, even when they weren't working. You know what I mean. And they had on auto mechanic clothes, and I wanted to wear suits, ties. I wanted to travel the world. I wanted to experience some of that stuff I was reading about in those books. You know, I was a great student in school. I came from a household where that was just not it wasn't.
Yeah.
It really wasn't valued. You know,
It kind of reminds me of the story of Malcolm. You remember that story where Malcolm is in school and the teacher asked him? Yeah. She asked Malcolm, what do you want to be when you grow up? And Malcolm was like, I want to be a lawyer. And the teacher said, Malcolm, you should be a carpenter. If you were a lawyer, none of your people would come and see you, and none of my people would definitely come and see you.
It's interesting you would say that because fortunately, you know, I had teachers back then. I always tell kids now that I'm grateful that I came about when kids didn't get to go back and forth with adults. They told you what you got. So I was a part of an academic community where, you know, I was so
validated.
So the little gifts I had they were as nurtured as best they could in the school setting. It just wasn't reinforced at home.
Really?
So, you know, I didn't volunteer to be in any spelling bees or any dramatic reading or any, but I was chosen for that stuff.
So
You know?
I think I'm hearing you felt something like a lack of support.
Well, it wasn't any. I mean, it was an
Affirmation.
It actually was a lack of support, but I understood real early on.
I'm saying, but what did you feel though?
Oh, definitely the lack of
affirmation, support.
Yeah.
Not very. Then I get what you're also getting to, which is what I want to get to as well.
Right.
Is that at that moment you may have felt that way, but now you've gone through a journey of understanding that your father was doing the best that he could with what he had. You felt like he was trying to protect you. I think I'm hearing you about to switch over to that part right there.
I thought I was getting beat up, man. I understand.
Yeah.
He was getting beat.
Yeah.
He was getting
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like I feel like I'm getting beat up today.
And that's the piece, and that's the piece I want to highlight as well, right? And it's not about and the reason why I wanted to point out the father in this particular movie, because he was the one that's seen as the villain. And lots of times we don't know that our children see us as villains. They think that we are not able to, you can't talk to us because they will never admit it. And this is what happens. I'm telling you, this is a lot of people are walking around saying parents are not emotionally mature enough to hear their reality. And then it's those of us who may have never said certain things to our parents because of the culture, but we feel certain things about our parents. The culture now says, go talk to your mother, go talk to your father, especially the mother. It's a major thing. I have to let y'all know this. Mothers are one of the most, although we understand they say fathers aren't at home and things of that nature, but in therapy, I have to admit, clinically, the mothers are the most talked about, male or female. And sometimes the male might love their mother, but they thought she was too strong, especially if it wasn't a dead home. And then, so they can't even take another woman saying anything to them. It's like they shut down. You know what I mean? And then the young ladies often feel like their mother treated them a certain way, especially if they had brothers. They treated me different than they treated my brother. So they treated me different than they treated my older sister, younger sister, or what have you. My mother shot my dreams down because she told me to go to school for this and I wanted to go to college, or she told me to do this and I wanted to do that. And the reality is now you come and talk to them at this time and 30 years later, and if you're not prepared, you think you're going to just go and have this easy conversation with your mother or father, and no one warned them about, they thought they did a splendid job. And now you're trying to tell them all the things that they did wrong in one setting. And somehow your therapist has suggested you go talk your talk. Misunderstanding culture. And one, so I work with people and understand that they may not, more than likely will not agree with you. But you have to get to a certain place where you're able to have the conversation without becoming, they're doing a lot over there. I'm like, they passing the mic, hot potato. Is you have to get to a point where I had one closer to you, Baba. You just say, look, hit me up when I'm done. Like, hit me up. They doing the whole thing. So prepare us to go and not hear and hear the thing that we don't want to hear. And then we say, then we get upset. Like, I've actually had people come to me, tell me they're upset because when they look at certain figures on YouTube, these figures said that their parents were supposed to leave them an inheritance. And because they didn't have the proper insurance in place, they failed them. So now you have grown children who now, because the new information they're taking in, say their parents should have did better. And they failed them. I'm saying some of our quote unquote conscious platforms spewing information that Black people are not financially this or that, and they should have left this to you. So now they have grown children running around hurt by that. They felt like their parents failed them, and then they start looking at the things they bought. They didn't have to buy me a bike. They didn't have to live in that house. They decided to move in the county, and they could have stayed where they was at, and they could have did something else with their money. So now they're reliving the whole reality they own in 2025 versus 1975. You know what I mean? So the culture, the social media, the therapists many times can be just as detrimental if they don't understand.
I just want to say something about August Wilson. He was from Pittsburgh. The movie Fences was really depicting his life and the life he knew in Pittsburgh. Really was dealing with Black life under white supremacy. And this very famous thing that he said was, the sign on America's door is "Leave your Africanness outside." My sign says, "Claim what is yours."
Claim what is yours. You got it, Mike. Hot potato.
Two things. What you said about leave your Africanness outside, I think, also the way Troy was talking was from that thing where, you got to stop your kids from doing it outside. You got to discipline them here to keep them from doing outside and doing something that'd be detrimental, be dangerous for them. It might get them killed. Right here, I'm going to hurt you mentally. But if you walk outside and do that, you might get killed dead.
Absolutely.
Physically.
Absolutely.
And the other thing I wanted to say
what you were just talking about. I did the exact thing yesterday with my daughter, the one who lives in Indianapolis.
Mm-hmm.
She had posted something on Facebook.
I'm listening, Mom. Go ahead.
And it was something I didn't like at all. And I immediately commented where it says comment. So this is, anybody else saw it would have saw my comment too. I wasn't thinking, and the comment that I commented was very negative about what she had posted.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as I push, I said, oh God, I shouldn't have done that. I should have called her directly and said what I felt about what she had did. But at the same time, I'm thinking, this child done has 6 children. She's taking care of her household. So do I really have the right to say anything? Ain't she grown enough to say what she wants to on Facebook? But at the same time, what she said was embarrassing to me. And I'm feeling naturally, oh, I raised her better than that. She didn't have no business putting that out there.
And I think there's a balance in that, because I think that in 2025, we say we're old enough to do certain things. And yes, we are. But at the same time, how far does that go? And what does the cultural norm say? Now, I get it. Cultural norms aren't necessarily that cultural norms are not that popular nowadays. But I get the idea of not getting stuck by culture, but the lack of it becomes very problematic because we get to do whatever we want to do. In fact, culture is so important now that you can't even hold your leaders accountable. So a culture holds everyone accountable, but lots of people struggle with culture because they don't want to be the one that's accountable. We have accountability problems. We have accountability problems because, in fact, many of us, due to our experiences, or individually or collectively, when we've been through levels of trauma on an individual level or collective level, there becomes an accountability problem because we don't want to be hurt again, and we damn sure don't want to be told what we need to do. And the reality, because I want to live free, I don't want no one telling me what to do. And culture is greater than that, and some of the things that we're so gung-ho of really still doing isn't necessarily, I'm not sure about this situation, but it's not that much. It's not even that. Why do you need to hold on? Well, I can cuss and say how I want to say things. I can say why? What are you? I'm a grown person. Yeah, you are. And the fact that you say that shows that there's a problem, because no one's questioning whether or not you're a grown up or not. You can be a grown like you can be a grown up and your mother can still come who's 80 years old, who lived in a different generation, say that is unacceptable, and you not have to now say I'm a grown up. You can say, okay, I understand, and keep it up or decide to take it down. But in this society, you better not come and talk to me because I'm a grown up. When you hear yourself saying things like, I'm a grown up, I'm a man, I put my pants on just like they put their pants on, understand that is more about you than the other person. Because don't you come tell me what to do. I mean, you can't even be an accountability partner in these days. You can't even be one who said there's a minister. You can't be one who's supposed to be a leader. You can't be one that's supposed to be a parent, because it's all about those who have been oppressed by leaders and parents and so on and so forth. What I'm saying is that thing is cyclical. It's bi-directional, and we all are suffering from it because the lack of culture. I'm not sure if y'all following me? My defense mechanism, you said? I'm saying that due to this cultureless culture, there's no way of doing things. There's no limits to anything. And somehow that feels good, but it doesn't serve for us. It doesn't even serve for safety. Because in reality, we all want to know that we can, with high probability, figure out how people respond and how people react and what's going to happen in the world, what's going to happen today. That's why we look at the weather report. We want to know that is it going to rain. We feel more comfortable knowing that it's probably 80% likely that it's going to rain, so I can put my clothes on. But if you don't, some of us, if we don't have the weatherman telling us or whoever telling us what it's going to be, we might feel like, dang, we might be thinking like, what should I do? What should I do? What should I do? Culture is that guide. Culture is that measure. Culture is that thing that tells you how we do things. And in fact, when you know how we do things, we can know what to expect in most cases. But when we're living in a cultureless culture, y'all keep that. Y'all make sure y'all put my name behind it. A cultureless culture, then what happens is everything goes. I can't really predict much of nothing. I can't predict how my children are going to talk to me. I can't predict how my mother would treat me. I can't predict what women do and what men do. I'm not saying get locked into it, but I'm saying we can't predict. It's nothing. How do you exist without any type of culture? Even in your own house, you have to create a culture. There has to be a culture. I'm coming to you, Buffer. We have to have a culture. And I thought about it. Some people say, well, your wife, they say, you're here. I can talk about you in your face this time. So brother told me one time, he said, you don't understand because your wife is passive. I said, I don't understand what brothers are going through. I said, okay. Now, the problem is not that. That's what he thought. The problem is not that. My wife is not passive. First of all, she might be quiet, but that's not passive. Quiet itself is not passive. It can be very scary, right? But it can be very scary. I'd rather you talk. Talk to me. She looking, but it's not that, and they say, so who's dominant? Like, who's the leader? We don't even talk about leader talk in the house. Baby, my wife never say, I need you to lead me. Or I never say, I need to be the leader. Like it becomes a problem. And so what I realized though is not that. What I realize is she and that's why I'm telling people, I do not agree with this idea that people need to wait till they're 30, 40 years old to get in a relationship. I think at that point, your brain is not going to be able to adapt. Your brain is too much. You ain't getting, like, when you're 30 and 40, 50 years old and you're trying to get in a relationship, now you got to learn how to be in a relationship. That's hard. Your brain is still learning, really being wired up until like 25, late 20s. If you've never been in a relationship, it's going to be a struggle. But what I'm saying is this: over the many years of she and I having been together, she coming from a certain cultural background, parents and so forth, me coming from a certain background, her even coming around my mother, I've been around her, I worked with her mother. So there's a culture that was created. And we've been practicing this culture for such a long time that we can anticipate how we're going to respond. I know she ain't leaving me because our culture of how we deal with each other is set in stone. She know I ain't going to flake out. I know even when she mad at me, and the worst case, I know she going to still make sure she look out for me. She know the same thing. We could have lost our minds. I'm saying, one of the worst type of arguments. Y'all know the real bad ones that hardly don't happen. Some people live in them every day. But I'm talking the worst type of argument where you're not proud to tell your children about, right? That type of argument where you say, "Oh no, but I still know that she still is there for me. I already know she's not leaving me. I know that, and I know if I leave out that house, she can be mad as I don't know what." I remember I went down to my mother's house one time. This is probably in my 20s. And guess who? Mean. Guess who calling me? She tough as I don't know what until you walk out to go down the street. Oh, what you doing? Mm-hmm. Now she want to talk. But what I'm saying is we have created a culture. Every institution, marriage, organizations, greater community, we need culture. And the fact that we're living in a time where everything goes, that's why we see what's coming in now, because now they want to tighten things up and tighten the ring up with the white Eurocentric male culture, because the white woman matriarchal feminist culture has ruled for about 10, 20 years now. But what I'm saying is that ain't our fight. Our fight is Black African culture. and you can create a culture. You should never be in a relationship where there's no culture, there's no expectations, there's no creed, there's no mission statement, there's no boundaries. Yeah. And then when you don't, and I'm sorry, and I'm going back to something I said earlier, when you find yourself having to question whether you're a man or a woman or this or that, know that none of that is you. Because if you feel comfortable in who you are, there's nobody that can take that away from you. I don't care who you are. You ain't gonna tell me I'm not a man. It ain't no way. I don't care who you are. In fact, I know it's about you. That's how we ought to be. Can't nobody take your man or woman card away. Mike's? No hot potato, hot potato, hot potato. Brother Curtis, on Mount Bible.
Yeah, the first thing, when you say this, I think since we have people in the audience with children and people with no children and everywhere in between. So when I think the last couple of weeks, and I think it was Dr. Sika that had talked about and Mama Donna, I hope it doesn't trigger you. Validation seeking, right? And depending on where you are, whether you're the child or whether you're the parent, you have a different perspective. And I think when Dr. Sika, so eloquently began to talk about seeking validation from her father and different things like that, it immediately put me in a position where I had to think about my relationship with my daughters. And I started texting them immediately. Sika was only halfway through what she was saying. And I started thinking about, wow, am I putting too much pressures on my daughters? Go to college and all this other thing, right? Am I trying to get them to live out my dreams? Or is this a culture that I have established in my family and in our families where college is just understood as a natural development and progression of the adult, right? And I will say the latter, that we have created a culture that says, you're going to college. But it really had me pausing and thinking about, and I was texting my daughter saying, listen, make sure whatever it is that you do in this world's life has nothing to do with me and your mom.
Can I say something to that? So, and I think it's important, right? And that's where we find that difficulty is culture. Now, some people say culture can hurt you because it can, right? But the problem is, I still think in Eurocentric culture, or the culture that we've adapted as being here, we miss some components of what's important in culture. One thing I said last week, let me throw this word out there in case I forget where I'm going, because y'all know my brain is cloudy. Meaning making, right? Keep that. If I lose track, just keep meaning making in your mind. Just meaning making. I'm sorry, meaning making.
Meaning, right?
Yeah, yeah. So thank you for interpreting, brother. They still didn't hear you though. Meaning making. I was going too fast, and he was going too slow. But so I said something last week about that, right? And it's this idea around culture. So culture itself is really important. Okay, I talked about, for example, Troy, right? Racial socialization. Most of us raised our children and are raising our children in a culture, or in this society, let me say, raising our children in this society to be able to thrive and survive first and then thrive if they can in this society. So what Brother Reggie was sharing, his father thought he was setting him up for disappointment, perhaps. But in fact, he was being disappointed by his father. Same thing with Troy. Troy's father was trying to protect him, but he was disappointing his son, right? But racial socialization, again, is those things, as I spoke about last week, is when you instill certain levels of ideas in your children to prepare them to survive in this white-dominated culture. So again, as I said last week, it lots of time it has to do with messaging, certain messaging, like you have to do with twice as good to be successful or something like that. What's some other ones? No, do you have no friends? Whatever. There's certain things you do to socialize individuals or your children or whoever to not be fooled by this society. I don't want you to be fooled with them degrees, because there's some truth behind it. Because if you find a lot of people with degrees right now doing worse than people who didn't get them. But the problem is those people who have those degrees, some of them are doing okay. But the problem is not this. The problem is if you were told to go to trade school because it was going to protect you, you had more of a likelihood to be successful. You didn't want to waste all your money on college and tuition and all these type of things. It's not about if the messaging was wrong. But the thing is, if you shut the person down and they still were successful, let's say as a cosmetologist or a person who was a carpenter or what have you, it doesn't matter. In the back of their mind, they sometimes feel like if they didn't get the proper meaning out of that, is that you shut me down and I could have done more. Although statistically, it still doesn't even really add up that people with college degrees are doing so much greater, especially when you include the debt. However, it's the messaging, it's how the person takes it. And so trauma has to do with not exactly what a person has done. It has to do with how you interpret it.
They could feel like you took away my joy, my chance to reach joy.
Yeah. And the reality is they don't even have that answer. No one knows. You could have went that route and could have been worse off. But the reality is you've convinced yourself, especially when you compare yourself to other people's false realities. I'm saying false realities because you don't know what's going on in people's houses with all these degrees or the lack thereof, right? But the problem is that the person meant well. Brother Curtis means well when he says we have a culture of going to school. Then we look at other communities like Asians and all these other folks and say, well, they hard on their children. The reality is some of them are suffering too, with the degrees or without them. But the meaning making is so important. And when you have your culture intact, it protects you against certain things. Because what the culture would do is say, I'm telling you why we go to school. I'm telling you why you don't do that. It interprets an event like Trump. Like, for example, Black people are very resilient because the way they interpret events due to their spiritual connection, to their spiritual understanding. And when I say spiritual connection, I'm talking about the way that you spiritually frame things. And Black people frame things in spiritual talk. So much so it bothers me sometimes. But but it's also, it can serve as an adaptive way of coping, but also a maladaptive way of coping. But the adaptiveness about it is something like Hurricane Katrina. Hurricane Katrina, what happened down there, lots of white people couldn't manage, although it impacted us much more. But Black people say things like, everything happens for a purpose. This is telling me something. There was a reason. There's a rhyme and a reason for everything. So these type of interpretations prevent you from being traumatized. So again, I differentiate between what is trauma. Like some people just say trauma. Just because you went through a thing does not mean you have been traumatized. The event itself is not the trauma, it's the way that you respond to it. So if you feel, like I say, you can, even on a physical level, one can fall off that sidewalk right there and experience a trauma, physically, a trauma, even mentally, off the sidewalk. Someone can fall off that window on the second floor and don't experience any of that. It has to do with the way that you frame it, but physically even not even experience the same level of trauma that someone experienced from that low fall to someone who fell out of a window due to various reasons, bones and all that type of thing, they didn't experience, or the way they fell, or the way they braced themselves, the way they didn't brace themselves. There's so many different reasons why people experience trauma, but the event is not the trauma. The trauma is the impact it has on you. So on a mental, psychosocial, spiritual level, it has to do with the way you see things. And due to you looking at things in a very meaningful way. So exactly, my mother meant me well when she said that. My mother was trying to protect me when she said that. My mother knew that this system didn't necessarily have our best interest. That's why she said that. My father. So it's really the meaning that you take from things. And that's why I'm saying we have to create our narratives. We have to reconstruct our pictures, because the pictures that we hold in our heads keep us stuck.
That fell out the window might have had a different philosophy about life, as if the kingdom of heaven is within you, and that everywhere you go, you should leave some heaven behind, instead of emulating another person that's over there. You know what I mean? Jesus Christ, kingdom of heaven.
And guess what? Whichever ideology that is, whether that person had that ideology, or let me say it again, my tongue is lazy today. Ideology, whether they had the ideology that the kingdom of Christ was inside of them, or the kingdom of Christ was outside of them, it doesn't matter. What matters is how they use their spiritual and religious framework to in the moment. We have all types of thoughts. Even my research supports this. My own research supports that. And I did it because we have all these fights in our communities. In my research, what I did, again, my dissertation was measuring the relationship of race-based trauma, Black identity, and spirituality. So what I did was I had all types of people from different spiritual backgrounds, different non-faith traditions, and indigenous traditions, and all these different traditions, measure their religious understanding, religious involvement, and all these different things as it pertains to experiencing race-based trauma, and also their level of spirituality. So religion and spirituality is different. Religion is the rules, the orthodoxy, whereas spirituality is more about connection, the way that you experience the universe, God, whomever. It's about how you experience meditation, how you experience prayer, and so on and so forth. Where religion is more a set of rules and with rituals and things.
Partisan, like politics.
Right, but there's no great difference. In my research showed there's no great difference in those who practice different faith traditions. What the difference is in our communities showed up is on the scales of miseducation, a person being miseducated about themselves and our group of people, anti-white sentiment. That's why I'm trying to keep us in white man hate, because those of us who are kept in white man hate are the ones who are more likely to experience all types of trauma. I'm saying, like, I ain't saying, look, whatever words you want to use, I say unstuck yourself from the white man. If you look, I ain't gonna say forgive because that's gonna trigger. Unstuck yourself from the white man, because if you stuck in white and everything white sugar, white flour, white flowers, that is a very traumatic state. That means they have too much power over you, and then hence you are more likely to experience trauma. But Afrocentricity and it does also show that there's resilience in culture. See, some people hate all the whiteness in the world, but have no culture. But culture is a mitigating factor. Culture such as African-centered principles, thoughts, and actions, literally, in most cases, serve as a protective measure. You know that is unsafe out there, but you also feel good about yourself. You cannot feel good about yourself, but also hate white people. You cannot feel good about black people, but also hate white people. That is a dangerous combination. You have to love yourself, love your community, and all these other things, because again, it is a perspective. You hate white people because you feel like you don't have what they have. You feel white people because you feel that they're dominant. That is different than if you have a message, or you make meaning that says, no, we are special people. We are we have been oppressed, but we've also been victorious. That is different than saying that, that is just different. Your messaging leads to whether or not you are going to be traumatized or not. So hence what I'm saying is, it doesn't matter what your religion is. It's really about the messaging you receive from it. And we're going to go around a wrap around because see if y'all got any final words, then we close it on out.
I would like to chime in.
Okay, go ahead.
There was a lot of different points being said, so
yeah,
I want to.
It's erratic.
Please excuse my stream of consciousness as I'm trying to replay. Right. So I think about getting stuck in a traumatic frame, right? Through a personal experience, where I was training for an Ironman and I drowned, and I remember really like at this anxiety-driven, stuck place, and it felt like a very physical, visceral feeling of feeling stuck, right? But I also noticed how that feeling would come up at a variety of times during the day through other experiences. So it brought an awareness to like it was a bigger version of what was already there. It was the anxiety that already resided in me, but it was exacerbated by the experience of drowning. And I say that to say, I also realized that once I let go of that fear, how there was a void in that place still there. And I kind of wanted to fill that void within a weird way, its own level of like anxiety. Like I almost got used to anxiety. I almost was dependent upon it because anxiety can fuel you forward as well as it can hinder you backward, enough of it can motivate you to get the thing done, because it's like, all right, well, if you procrastinate or if you wait last minute, right? But too much of it will shut you down. And I can feel that feeling. That feeling resonates in me also when it comes to getting frustrated around parenting, right? I bringing it to a point that you had brought up not too long ago, like you do the best that you can. And I think that that's kind of what I was speaking about when I was talking about my dad. Like he was going about doing his life. Also, I think cultural norms and generational norms, I think, should be separated, because what he was doing at his heyday of him being in his 30s is just naturally going to be different, because the pace of life is different, because technology is different, because the way we go about doing things is different. I think the intention is always the most important thing to pay attention to, right? And there's like the quote that says, the road to hell was paved with good intentions, right? Please excuse my elongated, but there was a couple thoughts here. So I love quotes. They just kind of sum things up, right? I would tell mentees that I would work with, it's not your fault, but it's your problem. Not everybody who has done something to you was intending to do something negative. They were just, in some cases, a earnest interaction can still result in a negative feeling in the other party. And, I empathize with the parents. I empathize with the older generation. If you are just doing the best that you can and you have so much capacity to do anything, but you're still doing it, because there's a version of that I live with in my current generation, current situation, life experiences that I could relate to, even though it's very different, and what just separating the generational cultural norms. And then there's already so many things that was well said. I just really appreciate the conversation.
Well, thank you, and you make me think about Kuji Chakalia, the importance of it in self-determination. To define for ourselves. What else, Mama down there? Say it one time in the mic. He wants you to say it in the mic.
Define ourselves, name for ourselves, speak for ourselves, and create for ourselves instead of being defined, named, created for by others.
Yeah, thank you. And I appreciate how you framed that, Brother Fur, when you said naturally this generation, you said generational, is that what you said? This cultural generational norms. And I think that in itself is important to understand, but I also think it's important to understand that perhaps we need to look at some of the advancements and whether or not how we should participate in these things, because these things in of themselves become problematic. And in fact, it almost becomes that sometimes the younger, I'm talking about us, we're all children. No, none of us escape this in America, at least, where we think that our parents don't understand. When I'm talking about children, I'm talking about all of us. Sometimes feel like we have to take up for the child. No, I'm saying you are the child. You ain't got to take up for the children because you are one. You are one. So you begin at some point in your mind, you thought that you were more advanced than your parents. Then later on, you found out, damn, my mother was telling me that I just wasn't listening. My father was telling me that. Some of us, the first generation, went to college in the 60s and 70s. They came back with afros and telling their mothers they was eating swine and all. They was telling all types of stuff. But then they realized that you have to realize that my mother and father was still kicking some knowledge, and they were. But the problem is, we can sometimes be arrogant as children. We all children. So don't feel the need to take up for children because we all of them. Yeah, we're all the children. We are the world. We are the future. What does it say? It's a choice you're making. Don't sing no more, Ausar.
As an elder here, I would just like to say that we can't be timid anymore. We have to speak out. We have to speak out against institutionalized tyranny and individual tyranny wherever we find it. Because if left unchecked, it threatens to engulf and subjugate us all. In this oligarchy, in this fascist system that's happening. Gotta speak out.
With the racial socialization, we do it. We support it every day, sending our kids to school. Mm-hmm. And they gotta, especially if they're in a integrated school, they got white teachers and whatever that's gonna teach them. You gotta act this way. You're not gonna. I'm not allowing you to act that way. And then when they come home, we're gonna say, well, yeah, you gotta act that way.
Absolutely. And then when you have a parent like Mama and Danu or Baba Ausar, my Baba said, I don't stand for, your child got to go to school and do all types of thoughts. Christopher Columbus did not discover America.
Hey.
I'm your only child in the class don't believe in Christmas. Santa Claus ain't come down no chimney.
Hey, mine were the only ones in class that couldn't stand up and say the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pardon.
No, I sent a note with them the first day. Not gonna do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pardon. Don't talk about it. The tooth fairy was great. But okay, let's move on. All right, closing wrap around, y'all. We're gonna start with Look, you was here long enough. Look, I'm gonna start with the quiet elders over here. Well, we're gonna close out with them. What we're gonna do? Baba, Rose, you want to go first, and then we go around, or how you want to do it? He can speak again if he want to. You good?
I am what I am because of who we all are.
All right, my sister, you got anything? Well, we're gonna challenge us to say a little something, a little reflection. What you got out today, whatever, and send us home. If you want to send us with something, that's also as well.
I'm just Just happy to be here. I learned a lot. Thanks.
Thank you. Brother ready. Brother ready. 60 seconds.
Yeah, it's always good to be amongst kinfolk, I should say.
Oh boy.
I need you all. Probably more than I care to admit. I really, really do. And it's always good to be here.
Thank you. That was 30 seconds, but you good. He said, leave me alone. Now you can go for 3 minutes if you want to. I ain't hear from you today much.
That's all right. I'm not going for 3 minutes. I just I don't know. I don't really have much to say. I'm still taking it in. I appreciate being in this space. I always appreciate being in this space. So it was a lot said. So I'm still processing. But I'm always appreciative. I did like hearing about the accountability. And I haven't been here the last few weeks, so I wasn't I didn't get the lessons that y'all did, so it was interesting at least to hear some stuff that was shared previously, and I think I might go watch Fences again because I haven't seen it in a while.
Thank you. Brother Chris, what it is? All the brothers, 60 seconds.
First off, I want to thank Brother Ausar for inviting me. First time here. It's beautiful. Being amongst your people and engaging them, engaging myself to be accountable. Be accountable to my community, be accountable to myself and to my family. Just to add on to the accountability is that responsibility comes next to that. You're responsible for each other. You can't have accountability without responsibility.
I say.
I'll be back here again.
I say. We're gonna hold you accountable.
Thank you.
And make sure y'all get his number for y'all leave. Babe, you gotta say one word. At least one.
One word.
One word. Say one love. You Rasta, ain't you? All right. Ryan Fur. Yeah, I know I ain't gotta tell you to say nothing. So
it's always a pleasure to be here in the shared community with y'all.
We appreciate it.
And yeah, that's all.
Oh, that's all?
That's all, folks.
You closing on out well. Peace, brother.
Well, I'm just the link in this chain, and it will not be broken by me.
I say. Ain't that cute? Look, she's always got to do the cute things. That's that Midwestern stuff in her. You know what I mean? The Midwestern cutie.
Well, I guess this is my yin day today. I'm on my downside today. Not feeling down, just down. Yeah, energetic. My energy's here, but I'm listening to everything today.
Yeah,
it's all good. Yeah. I say what? Yeah, he took them all, right? Yeah, Curtis took energy from everybody. Yeah, but I do remember just share this with you. I did send my daughter to school, and she came back with me. She said, "Dad, we got to go back to school because the teacher said you're a liar. You don't know what you're talking about." I'm talking about my oldest daughter because he was talking about Christopher Columbus, and I was like, "He ain't discovered America," and she was like, "She said you don't know what you're talking about." So I like, "Okay, we're going out there tomorrow." That's what I said, and then I thought about it. I like, nah. This is gonna hurt her because she still got to be in that environment with the school teaching and everything like that, so she can get an F. So I told her then that we're gonna have to learn two lessons: one you learn at the school and one at home. Ashe?
Well, I think what stuck to me, there are a lot of things, but what I thought about was when you said our relationships as African-centered people have to be based in culture. And I thought about that and I said, well, yeah, because that's how we build and how we expand, because we're moving in the same mind. But it also means too, maybe letting go of some people and not having certain people that don't have your mindset or the goals and the ambitions collectively, letting them go. Because you said to have cultural relationships based in culture. That means accountability, integrity, and everybody that is not aware or chooses not to be a part of culture, they don't have a lot of that stuff. They may bring something else to the table that's beneficial, but is it going to grow us, expand us, and heighten what we're trying to do in our community? So that really stuck to me. And it made me look at some relationships and saying, yeah, you might have to go. You might have to go too.
So I appreciate that. And if not let go, it will be you figure out how you interact or engage with them, you know. And letting go is sometimes part of that. So, and some of that is just you know what you can expect, and you do what you can do, and you handle as much as you can handle. Sometimes they might wash your car good, you know, culturally. But
our Midwest slogan for that was make new friends, but keep the old. One is silver, the other's gold.
Yeah, gold doesn't tarnish if you put it away. It's not brass, but anyway, thank y'all, family. I'm going to say so. Just my recap would be, healing is a healing, growing. I use the word growth because I use healing as a word, but I think that we're all growing, right? We all have the propensity to continually grow, and sometimes healing. I mean, healing is fine, but I think that we think that we get to a point where we don't have to do it anymore. So if you get to a point where you don't do it no more, then it's called growth, you know, and we got to continually grow. Some of the early language from the book Stolen Legacy spoke about this sunum bunum level in ancient Egyptian culture or what have you. I like to say ancient African culture, speaking about being the what does it mean, like the supreme good, you know, or getting to a level where you are the supreme good, if I'm recalling it correctly. So in other words, it said the body grows frail, but the mind and the spirit always can grow. And with that, family, I'm gonna turn it back over to our dear Coca-Cola Nut King, Brother Curtis.
Come on, y'all. Give it up. Give it up. Give it up for Brother Dennis Ausar Winkler. Come on, Chief. We appreciate you. We appreciate you. We appreciate you. And just like any institution, we understand that man cannot live on bread alone, nor can the temple. Okay, we got the Cash App, y'all. All right. So we understand that when your nation building.
Oh, online, we think y'all. We hope we didn't get any questions online that we overlooked.
Oh,
but yeah, we appreciate y'all too. We see y'all hanging in there. Thank
y'all
y'all for joining us.
And we appreciate everybody that's online. Please hit the Cash App. People complain about not having institutions and not having a place to go. We understand that 5525 Harford Road is an institution that we're building. Anybody see my tambourine? Here we go. So we understand that many people talking about we need a place to go to where we can study. And sometimes we overlook that which is right in front of our eyes. We're building an institution. It's called the TNAT Wellness Center. We're building an institution. It's called the House of Healing. We're building an institution. And everybody's running around saying, we ain't got nothing. But when you look around, we have more than we actually know. So for those that are in here, we're going to pass the tambourine. And please be generous. If you can't give that which folds, we have a digital currency. And y'all can just do like I'm about to do. You just put your camera on. and we just going to scan the code because we understand some of y'all down with the technology. Thank you, beloved. Thank you, Barbara. Thank you, Barbara. That's something. You get the cash out? All right. So if you all could stand on your feet. But once again, we thank you for that beautiful conversation. We thank everybody for coming out. We're going to enter Harambe's, and Harambe means let's pull together. As we build this institution called the TNAT Center, there's going to be dark days, but it's going to be a whole bunch of light days ahead. We're just going to put our hands in the air, that black fist. And when we pull down, we're going to pull down oppression. When we pull down, we're going to pull every negative ill. On 3. 1, 2, 3. Harambe! 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 Oh yeah. Come on, family. Hug one another. Show some love for each other. Until next Sunday, same time, same place, we in the building. When the sun shines again, we are one, we will win. When the sun shines again, we are one, we will win.
I was born son of Mahalia, so I received the gospel. Told to go spell it and bring it back to Chicago. Raps to Sabo for the street apostles. The big payback for the dollar that I borrow. Bust raps for tomorrow, where the guns clap and go bravo. My pops was a genie living in the bottle. Light and dark in us, our own vitiligo. In Pentecostal Chicago, bravado and bravery. We went from cargo and slavery to God flow they paid to see. Took agency for what we made to be. With no reservations, I sit niggas down like a maitre d'. Money ain't swaying me, that's the Dave in me. Some took shots over bars, they ain't grazing me. The way I move from A to B, they hate to see the Hawkins sang a song for me to live gratefully.
When the sun shines again, we are one, we will win. When the sun shines again, we are one, we will win.
We here to win. Yo, I'm not the life of the party. I'm respond to the cause that align with the laws. When you tally the assessment of where lyrically best win, it's me and all four. So they say that I'm a goat, but that I do ignore, cause the goat can be slaughtered and cooked up, curry and ate up in a hurry, and that I can't afford. But never ignore the fact me ain't calm. It's part something from the Quran and maybe part Corinthians. Part nigga like that group you were in, or wasn't. Either way, knock them down by the dozen while cheers we're hearing. They understand the wealth is the vehicle and knowledge be the steering. When the sun
shines again, we are one, we will win. When the sun shines again, we are one, we will win.
Yo, time the plane leaving? Alright, see you at the airport. I'm leaving on the next plane. I don't know when I'll be back again. Kiss me and smile for me. Tell me that you wait for me. Hold me like you know I'll never go. Even though you know I will, I'm a traveling man. Moving through places, space and time. Got a lot of things I got to do. God willing, I'm coming back to you. Baby boo, I'm a traveling man. Moving through places, space and time. Got a lot of things I got to do. baby boo. I'm leaving,